I read this report that's making the rounds, and I'm sure you have too. Involuntary celibacy among young adults has spiked to almost 30% in the last 10 years. And, underneath that stat's a more ugly truth. While women of that demographic are largely the same as they've always been, men have nearly tripled. And you can't help but notice the year that line of sexless men skyrocketed. 2008. I wonder what else happened at that time. Oh yeah, that worldwide recession. So I ask myself 2 questions. What's the takeaway, and what does one do about it? Well, the takeaway is easy. When you look into divorce statistics, you'll find that the primary factor is whether a wife earns more than her husband. Oof. 2008 caused older generations to hold on to their jobs to recover from a huge dent in their retirement savings. A majority of the economic damage occurred in male-dominated industries like construction, finance, or selling subprime loans. Basically, 6 out of every 8 jobs were lost from men. And you don't need a statistic for this, but there's something that your gendered studies professor won't tell you. Women who don't have a job can still get laid just as easy, but for a man, it's harder. A lot harder. I'm not saying it's impossible, just harder. Now, some guys can overcome that, but a percentage of guys cannot. I'd say around 30% of the men under the age of 30 cannot. Of course, those girls are having sex with someone, but who? And it's something I've noticed in my time spent around red-pilled men, is that these guys in their 30s, in their 40s, and yes, even their 50s, are finding it easier than ever to have girls in their 20s. I'm talking divorced guys, having girlfriends after dealing with their horrible ex-wife, guys who never got married to begin with, guys who even decided that they would hold their marital vows only as sacrosanct as their cold wives were. Now, you can like it or you can hate it, but just like how the older demographics kick the ladder out from under them economically, prime-aged men are doing it sexually. So for the second question, what does anyone do about it? For me, I'm in my 30s. This is the best news I could have ever received. I'm happy now with my girl. She treats me right, and I want for nothing. Now, if that changes, I'm always able to find grass that's much greener on the other side. Greener, younger, possibly even employed. But for younger guys, there really isn't any magic solutions. I mean, if 30% of men that age aren't having sex, that means you need to get out of the bottom 30%. Ideally, you'd want to get in the top 20%, but let's just keep this realistic. Now, what does a bottom 30% man look like? I remember seeing some statistics on the average American. Almost a 40-inch waistline, over 200 pounds, about 5'9", without enough money saved up to pay a $2,000 bill if it came up unexpectedly. So I see easy, straightforward goals there. Stop being fat, stop being poor, and stop being weak. Now, I didn't say be rich, I didn't say be aesthetic, and I didn't say be a strong man. It was something I was discussing with a friend of mine, Carl. Now, if you don't know him, you should really check out our podcast on Saturdays, Red Mornings. What he said was, don't mistake this top 1% man for the top 20% man, and I think it applies here. You can't be a millionaire. It's too hard. Fine. Are you able to scrounge up $2,000 for a savings account? If you don't have the skill, go find one that you have an aptitude for. If you can't find a skill, time is a skill. Start trading it for cash. Learn one on the job. In my lifetime, I've probably scrubbed about 1,000 toilets from my time in the Royal Canadian Navy. I've hauled irrigation lines by hand on my childhood ranch for years. And I've picked rocks out of a field during the summers when I was growing up. Pride is sabotage. We all have to pay some sort of price for our success. You can't be 6'2" and shredded at 7% body fat? Fine. Are you able to get down to 15%? Fill out the top half of a t-shirt? Don't have a workout program? Just start strong lifts 5x5. Start that program and only eat when you can cook. The money you just saved in not buying booze, cigarettes, and crap food just paid for your gym membership. I've even got a few omelet videos on here, so it's not hard to learn. As far as working out being difficult, I've been hit by a car. I got permanent arthritis in my right hand, and I have to wear hooks every time I lift something. We all have to pay some sort of price for our success. As for strength, you can't stop making excuses for your lot in life? No motivation? Fine. Are you able to use your OCD to stick to a schedule for a year? For my service time, I've had to shave every day for 12 years. I've made the same breakfast 300 days in a row. My sailing schedule regimented my daily routine down to about 15-minute increments. Motivation? Motivation is for the weak, and discipline is king. So get your routines in order. We all have to pay a price for our success. Now I know what you're probably thinking. That was an awful lot of words. Words, 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 and effort. When it hasn't really gotten you any closer to having sex than that 30% of celibate men, so why even bother? I'd suggest this is that Mr. Miyagi moment for Danielson. Do you remember when your mom told you to just be yourself and girls still didn't want to be around you? Well, after this, go try it now. I'll bet after a year of some solid goals, some solid action, and a little bit of persistence, that being yourself starts to be a little bit more fun to be around. Remember when you tried so hard to get that one girl and she got creeped out and called you her friend? I'll bet after having a schedule of things that fill your time, you'll start to realize that girls need to start adding value to your life for you to have a reason to put them in your life. And girls are weird this way. The challenge of having to win you over actually makes you more attractive. Girls like a challenge. Girls love a challenge. And remember when you used to spend $100 on a dinner date every time a woman agreed to have dinner? And then you were broke at the end of it? Then she told you there'd be no chemistry, or maybe even she just flaked? Well, you hustled for each and every dollar you have right now. And you remember the time you had to sink into each dollar you earned. So that's not $100 for you. That was 30 toilets and 3 ditches you had to dig. So until a girl is really worth your time, you probably won't waste more than $3 on coffee to find out if she's worth it. And girls are weird this way. When you don't put such effort and investment into them, the idea of her attraction is based on what's left. You. The girls who spend time with you want you for you, since you've not given them anything else. The ones that want something else can get it from someone else. And the best part is you're going to look back at that 30% of celibate men who aren't getting laid, and you're going to laugh to yourself. Instead of looking at them as those guys who are hard done by, who life is unfair to, and who you need to find blame, you look at them like a gift. That's 3 out of every 10 men out there who got out of your way while you were busy succeeding at life. And the cherry on top? Everyone loves a winner. And it's easy to win a race when nobody is running. Just make sure that girl who has been on her best behavior in the last 6 months has a job before you promote her to your main girl. Let the 30% guys pay for her affections. Girls should be paying their own way at this point anyway. Want to give a shout out now to subscribers on my Patreon. Without your guys' support, none of this would be possible. Feel free to check out the link in the description and join the crew. Speaking of support, Groundshark Coffee is a great group of guys with a great company. They hopped me up on the caffeine I needed to finish this video on time, so thanks, Nick. Tactical soap. Depending on who you ask, it's either a tip of the hat to Fight Club or the penultimate snake oil. I just know that I love blaming pheromones on my success, and they actually like being associated with a very controversial set of ideas, which is rare. Plus, I prefer not to smell like my woman when I have a consult. And yes, I do consults. Between the 5 years I've spent with tens of thousands of men developing the tools for successful relationship strategies, my experience from the military, my experience as a corporate professional and a small-town rancher, I've done more research and field work than just about any marriage counselor out there. And I'm one of the only ones who actually focus on a man's happiness in life. So, whether a guy has his life mostly together but wants help with a single problem, or has hit a major life-changing event and wants to rebuild himself, I got this. Links for all this stuff, it's in the description. Thanks, bud. Take care.